Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots, brought to you by Snarful Solutions Group in Sacramento, California. I'm Alex, and joining me today is Morgan on this Wednesday, August 26, 2026.
Hi, everyone.
So, we have a pretty wild show today. Imagine the greatest optimist of the whole digital revolution. The guy who basically spent his life trying to put a personal computer on every single desk.
Right.
And suddenly, he is just yanking the firearm.
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
Yeah. Warning us that we're basically hurtling toward one of the most turbulent times in human history. And that we are just completely unprepared.
Yeah, we have a really heavy but honestly fascinating lineup today. We're going to unpack the hidden ears of the AI revolution and the really high-stakes geopolitical drama that's kind of swirling around it right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. But before we get into all that tech turbulence, let's take a quick look at what's going on outside today.
Right.
It's actually a gorgeous one here in Sacramento. We've got sunny skies, 97 degrees Fahrenheit, with just a light breeze of 3 to 8 miles per hour.
Not too bad.
No, not at all. But nationally, it's a bit more chaotic out there. We are currently tracking 213 active U.S. weather alerts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and 99 of those are over land. So if you're traveling this week, definitely check weather.gov for the details because there's a lot going on.
For sure. Well, switching gears to the financial markets, Tuesday's close was really relatively flat across the board.
Okay.
The Dow Jones closed down just slightly. It landed at 53,577.40. So that's a tiny drop of 17.52 points or 0.03%.
Just a blip.
Yeah, barely moved. And the S&P 500 closed slightly up at 7,677.28.
Okay.
Gaining a fraction of a point, up 0.62 or 0.01%.
Right.
And checking in on the crypto side this Wednesday morning, Bitcoin is currently hovering at 78,112.42. That is down about 415.99 or 0.53%.
Got it. Just kind of treading water everywhere right now.
Exactly.
Well, wrapping up our morning briefing with a quick look at yesterday's baseball action. The SF Giants beat the Cincinnati Reds 3-1. Yeah, Anthony Molina took the win on the mound there. And the Athletics beat the Minnesota Twins 4-2, thanks to Gage jump throwing as the winning pitcher.
Okay, good for them.
Yeah. So let's look closer at today's top tech stories. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Strong Coffee, the premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew, but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha. Get clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Use promo code SNARFUL for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com.
Okay, so let's unpack this 6,000-word essay from Bill Gates.
Yeah, it's a monster of an essay.
It really is. And the underlying premise is a massive departure from how the tech industry usually talks about innovation.
Right, because normally it's all sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly. But he is explicitly stating that artificial intelligence is no longer just another tool in our arsenal.
Okay.
He claims it's actually actively substituting for human cognition.
I mean, that feels like a subtle shift in phrasing, but the implications of that are just massive.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's the entire foundation of his alarm. Because if you look at previous technological leaps, like the printing press or the personal computer, the internet, we're all mediums. Like, a word processor doesn't write a novel by itself.
Right.
A spreadsheet software doesn't, design a corporate financial strategy. The human brain was still the indispensable engine making all the decisions.
You still have to type the words in.
Exactly. But Gates is pointing out that generative AI has crossed this threshold into becoming the engine itself. It is doing the thinking.
Okay, I grasp the broad strokes of that.
Yeah.
But in the essay, he gets highly specific about the technical triggers that caused him to panic.
Yeah.
Like late last year, he mentions things like Claude Code, the expansion of what he calls context buffers, and a new agentic approach.
Right.
So I need you to walk me through this mechanism. How exactly does a context buffer turn a smart chatbot into a massive cyber attack threat?
Okay, so think of a context buffer like a short-term working memory of an AI model. A couple of years ago, if you asked an AI to execute a highly complex task, like, finding a vulnerability in a corporate network and then writing custom code to exploit it, it would forget the first step of the process by the time it got to step 5.
Oh, really? It just couldn't hold on to it?
Right. It just couldn't hold the whole picture in its head at one time.
Right.
But today, those buffers are so massive that an AI can ingest an entire corporate network's architecture, understand every single software dependency, and spot the vulnerabilities all at once.
So wait, it's not just suggesting a piece of malicious code for a human hacker to copy and paste.
No,
It is holding the entire blueprint of the target in its memory and independently executing a multi-step attack.
Yes. That is the agentic approach that he's terrified of. The AI acts as an autonomous agent.
Wow.
It can plan, execute, evaluate, and then adjust its strategy without a human ever clicking a button.
That is terrifying.
Yeah. And because of that autonomy, Gates argues we haven't just crossed a coding threshold. We've crossed a massive cyber attack threshold. The barrier to entry for devastating, fully customized cyber attack just dropped essentially to zero.
Okay, but then why the deafening silence from the broader industry? Like, he notes in the essay that tech executives are privately very worried about these capabilities.
Worried.
But publicly, they're putting on a brave face and acting completely fine. I mean, it feels like they are building a skyscraper at record speed by skipping the foundational load tests, simply because there's a line of investors waiting to buy the penthouse.
That skyscraper metaphor captures the exact dynamic at play right now. Gates frames this as a classic geopolitical and economic prisoner's dilemma.
Okay, how so?
Well, in the corporate boardrooms, the logic is brutal, but it's entirely predictable. Executives know the technology is dangerous, but they're trying to raise trillions of dollars for infrastructure, right? They want to keep their planned IPOs on track.
Right, there's so much money on the line.
Exactly. So if one company decides to pause development to build in safety guardrails, a rival firm is just going to speed past them and capture the entire market.
Oh, I see.
And the same logic applies to government defense departments. If the U.S. slows down, another nation speeds up. So the incentive structure literally forces everyone to just go full speed ahead.
But I have to ask this on behalf of the listener. If the builders of this technology are ignoring the guardrails for the sake of trillions in funding, how does an average family protect themselves against these autonomous cyber threats?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Are everyday people just sitting ducks in this scenario? Because when the builders ignore safety, we usually pay the price.
Well, the harsh reality is that on a micro level, the average user is largely at the mercy of the macro level systems.
So we can't do anything.
I mean, you can use two-factor authentication, you can maintain strong passwords. But if an autonomous AI agent breaches the municipal power grid or your bank's back-end infrastructure, individual security hygiene won't stop that fallout.
Right. A strong password doesn't matter if the bank itself gets gutted.
Exactly. And that macro-level vulnerability is exactly why Gates is demanding a domestic regulatory framework immediately. He is stressing the absolute necessity for U.S.-China cooperation to monitor these models.
Because it has to be at the top level.
Right. An individual can't fight an autonomous AI agent. Only a systemic global defense structure can actually do that.
Okay. But if these agentic models are autonomous enough to execute complex, multi-step cyber attacks without human oversight, I mean, they are autonomous enough to execute multi-step corporate workflow.
Yes, absolutely.
Which brings us to the labor market.
Yeah.
And what this transition means for our livelihoods, because that's the other side of the coin.
Right. And Gates dedicates a massive portion of the essay to labor anxieties. He is warning of widespread permanent unemployment.
Permanent. Wow.
Yeah. And he's especially focused on the collapse of entry-level jobs for young people, because traditionally you learn the ropes by doing those routine tasks that AI is now perfectly capable of handling.
Think of like the factory workers in the 80s, but now it's white-collar and blue-collar workers alike on the chopping block.
Yes.
And we are already seeing those cracks form in real time. We've had over 127,000 tech layoffs in 2026 alone. So this isn't a hypothetical future problem.
No, not me.
It's actively reshaping the economy right now.
The ripple effects are actively being quantified. Actually, the Economic and Social Research Institute, or ESRI in Ireland, just published a study projecting severe short-term income inequality directly driven by AI adoption.
Wow, in Ireland.
Yeah. But Gates isn't just looking at software automating white-collar work. He is equally alarmed by physical AI.
Physical AI. You mean humanoid robots taking over manufacturing and logistics?
Yes, robots capable of performing dynamic physical labor, and the geopolitical numbers driving this sector are just staggering.
Okay, lay them on me.
The data shows China currently holds 97% of the humanoid robot market.
97%.
97%. And they represent 85% of the global demand.
That is basically a monopoly.
Yeah, so the hardware required to replace physical labor is scaling up just as rapidly and becoming just as concentrated as the software replacing cognitive labor.
Right. Okay, so to combat this, Gates is proposing some aggressive ideas. He suggests a global tax on AI tokens and robots. The logic seems to be, like, make it artificially expensive for a company to deploy a robot, slow down the rate of human replacement, and then use that new tax revenue to fund social safety nets for the displaced workers.
Right, that's the pitch.
But I have to push back on this, though. That sounds like an absolute economic fantasy.
I know, it really does.
Right, because can you really enforce a robot tax globally without some countries just refusing and becoming tax havens for AI? If the United States implements a heavy robot tax, a massive tech conglomerate isn't going to just accept the lower profit margins. They will simply move their server farms and robotic manufacturing fleets to a country that refuses to implement the tax.
Well, the threat of capital flight is exactly the primary friction point critics are raising. Unilateral taxes simply do not work with borderless technology. And Gates himself openly acknowledges this extreme difficulty. He explicitly admits that our current domestic and global institutions are woefully inadequate for this kind of cross-sector challenge.
Right, because AI touches tax law, labor rights, healthcare, and national security all at the exact same time. It's too big for one agency.
Which is why his ultimate proposal is the creation of an entirely new international organization to manage AI risks.
Okay, like a UN for AI.
Kind of.
Yeah.
He points to the global agreements we built for nuclear weapons, commercial aviation safety, and the protection of the ozone layer. He sees a dedicated global body as the only mechanism capable of enforcing these taxes and safety standards without instantly creating those offshore tech havens.
Okay, but even if you manage to build that global organization, his labor proposals still include things like human reserve jobs.
Yes.
Which brings up this incredible paradox. Because we are pouring trillions of dollars into advancing technology to the point where it can mimic sentience and solve complex mathematical theorems.
Right.
Only for Gates to propose, we legally mandate that humans do the emotionally taxing labor. He wants sectors like caregiving, early childhood education, and certain medical roles to be legally ring-fenced so no robot is ever allowed to do them.
It is a really striking socioeconomic paradox. He's basically trying to guarantee a baseline of human-to-human employment so society doesn't just totally fracture.
Right.
But the economic friction here is that caregiving and education are historically underpaid and undervalued fields.
Very true.
So if you push millions of displaced white-collar developers and blue-collar factory workers into those human reserve sectors, the labor supply skyrockets.
Which would naturally drive the wages in those fields down even further.
Yeah.
Because suddenly you have 20 people applying for one teaching assistant job.
Exactly, unless that theoretical robot tax is perfectly executed on a global scale to subsidize those human reserved wages.
Which we just said was almost impossible.
Right. It is a massive, intricately balanced socioeconomic redesign he is asking the world to undertake, all before the unemployment numbers break the social contract.
Yeah. And to execute a global socioeconomic redesign of that magnitude, you need unparalleled geopolitical soft power. You need the ability to sit down with world leaders, navigate immense cultural differences, and negotiate binding generational treaties.
You do?
Now, Gates used to have that power in spades, which transitions us to our third story today, and the massive cloud currently hanging over this entire crusade. It's like a classic case of the message getting overshadowed by the messenger. Does the world need a pristine, flawless leader to regulate AI, or just a loud one with access to world leaders?
Well, Gates refers to himself in the essay as an imperfect messenger, which is a severe understatement regarding the current philanthropic fallout from his association with dead child predator Jeffrey Epstein between 2011 and 2014.
Right. And we need to look closely at the tangible financial damage this is doing right now. The 95-year-old Berkshire Hathaway CEO, Warren Buffett, has officially shelved his customary multi-billion-dollar summer stock donation to the Gates Foundation.
Yeah, it's huge.
Just for scale, Buffett has donated over $48 billion to the foundation since 2006. Pulling that funding is an absolute earthquake in the global health and development space.
It really is. And Buffett was very pragmatic about his reasoning during an interview on CNBC recently. He stated he wants to wait for an external, independent review of Gates's interactions with Epstein to conclude.
Interesting.
Yeah, he explicitly noted he doesn't want to know things at the moment because he doesn't want to get called as a witness.
Oof. That is a heavy statement.
Well,
And the Wall Street Journal reported that Buffett has been directly prodding the Gates Foundation CEO, Mark Sussman, on the progress of this probe. So all of this pressure follows June 10th, when Gates voluntarily testified for 6 hours behind closed doors to the House Oversight Committee.
Right. And the transcripts from that testimony have provided the analytical context we are dealing with now. During those 6 hours, Gates admitted that the ties to Epstein were a huge mistake. Maintaining his motivation was purely driven by a desire to raise funds for global health initiatives.
But the transcripts also revealed extremely personal vulnerabilities. Gates admitted to having extramarital affairs with a Russian bridge player and a Russian nuclear physicist. According to his testimony, Epstein leveraged his knowledge of these affairs to make veiled threats, essentially trying to blackmail Gates to keep him in his network.
It is crucial to maintain absolute objectivity here and state the facts of the record.
Absolutely.
During that same testimony, Gates strongly and consistently denied ever visiting Epstein's private island, witnessing any crimes, or participating in any illegal behavior whatsoever, and law enforcement has not accused him of any criminal wrongdoing.
That's an important point to clarify.
Yeah. He told his foundation staff that risking the organization's reputation was deeply foolish, acknowledging that reputation is the absolute key to doing their work.
And that is the core analytical takeaway for this entire discussion. To pass global AI treaties and implement worldwide robot taxes, you need a pristine reputation. The irony is tragic here. His initial attempt to raise funds by navigating Epstein's network has now cost his foundation billions in delayed funding from its most vital backer, Warren Buffett.
It degrades his political capital at the exact moment humanity might need it most. When he walks into a room to negotiate an AI treaty with the US president or Xi Jinping or Emmanuel Macron, the authority of the world's foremost tech visionary is severely undercut by this baggage.
Right.
Diplomacy relies on leverage and trust, and controversies of this magnitude just siphon away both.
It leaves us with a fractured picture of global diplomacy just as the technological clock is ticking down.
It really does.
Well, before we wrap up today's coverage, a quick thanks to Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store. Perfect for the techie in your life. Use promo code SNARFUL for 15% off at oldglory.com.
So, tying all these threads together, we are staring down a technological shift that threatens to dismantle our cybersecurity infrastructure and hollow out the global labor market. And the person with the deepest understanding of these autonomous agentic models is desperately trying to establish international guardrails, but he is fighting a simultaneous battle to salvage the credibility required to lead that charge.
It leaves you with a deeply unsettling thought. If the tech world's biggest former optimist is now begging for robot taxes and international treaties, but the messenger himself is embroiled in controversy, who is actually left to steer the ship for our future? We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.